What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Daily Energy News Beat Stand-Up here on this gorgeous April 18th, 2023. As always, I'm your humble correspondent, Michael Tanner, coming to you from an undisclosed location here in Dallas, Texas, joined by the executive producer of the show, the purveyor of the show, and the director and publisher of the world's greatest website, EnergyNewsBeat.com, Stuart Turley. My man, how we doing today?
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood in an undisclosed location here in Abilene.
Yeah, no, you called me on my way home from the office today and said, get ready. We have a lot of stories, and boy, do we. We have a fat menu spun up, guys. So hang tight. It's going to be a great show. First up on said menu, administration backs new gas spending in G7 talks. I love this, though, with caveats. So Stu will cover what's going on with the G7 talks and specifically those caveats. Next up, U.S. ready to lend Poland $4 billion for nuclear energy plan. Checks keep coming. I think I am in line for a check from the U.S. government. So Stu will cover the money that we're sending over to Poland. Next up, Russia is losing on the battlefield in energy markets while U.S. LNG producers are winning. Can't say I'm too sad about this one, but Stu will cover what's going on geopolitically with LNG and Russia. Next up, China seeks to expand sources of stable gas supplies. Dun, dun, dun. China is always looming in this. Next up, G7 energy and environmental leaders haggle over climate strategy. In one of the most non-predictable stories of all time, Stu will cover what's coming out of Sapporo, and where some of the people are meeting in the G7 ahead of it's in Sapporo, and then they're also meeting in Hiroshima. So that'll be interesting. But there are a lot of talk coming out of there, Stu. You will have it all and break it down. And then finally, the coal inventory in India is increasing drastically. They're importing to avert a crisis. This is a great article out of the state of Mahogany. The state power generation company is quite literally importing as much coal as they can get their hands on in order to subvert a supply chain. So Stu will cover that. He'll kick it over to me. I'll quickly cover the drop in oil prices, the rise in natural gas prices, and anything else to expect in the finance game. And then we'll let you get out of here, guys. But first, before we get back to Stu, as always, all of the stories we are about to cover are courtesy the world's greatest website, EnergyNewsBeat.com, the best place for all your energy news. To hit the description below, you'll be able to see all of the articles, links, and timestamps. We appreciate our team for keeping up to speed on that. Dashboard.energynewsbeat.com, the best place for all of your data and news combined. We are hard at work on V2. Get it while you still can. I'm out of breath, though, Stu. Where do you want to begin? We got a long show lined up. We got a long show.
Oh, yeah. Let's go to the administration backs new gas spending in G7 with caveats. And we're going to tie that also with the G7 talks here in just a second as well. So I got two of them on the G7. And the G7 is, they're the, seven wealthiest countries in the world meeting in Japan. And since they're meeting in Hiroshima, maybe we could get Senator Kerry or Czar Kerry to glow when he gets done after being in. Maybe we can get him to go to Nagasaki as well.
Maybe.
We'll leave
so just
that
give you guys
alone.
an idea. The G7 is Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and the United Kingdom, and the United States, as well as the EU. So I don't know what that means.
That would be all of Europe.
So why is it the G7? It's an informal grouping of the seven of the world's most advanced economies. So you're right. It's not just countries.
Right. So let's kind of go in here. And so the biggest thing in here is the final outcome, which puts some big caveats on new investment in gas and deletes Japan's proposed language, which wouldn't have happened if the U.S. had opposed. Mm-hmm. They're really putting it. You and I talked about this 2 years ago, or, when we recognized that gas was going to be needed, or a year and a half ago. And the document says gas can be developed as long as it's acceptable within our climate goals. but science is very clear. No new investments in gas can be compatible with our climate goals. In other words, these chowderheads understand that they got to have gas and nuclear in order to get there. They're saying they need it. They're saying that they also need to spend the money, but now some of them are still saying we ain't spending the money.
Well, you pointed this out 2 years ago during COP26 and mentioned that there was rumblings of calling natural gas clean. And
Right.
now that's turned out to be true. We saw that in COP27. That's going to be a huge part of COP28 coming up. And this falls right in line with it.
Right.
You were unfortunately right about this. You
Yeah.
can take the victory lap.
Yeah. Twice now. So that's the only 2 times that I've been right since we've been doing this. In the G7, when you take a look at the other article we have, Jennifer Granholm said in an interview Friday, we expect those countries that see this done and the nations that have the wherewithal to make these investments to be first out, give those hope to others to be able to do it, as that technology lowers the cost. I really wish they would get a crayon, because their numbers don't match up. As the technology lowers the cost, the technology is not there. The supply chain is costing more, just like in drilling oil wells. I don't want to use the word doubling, but it's almost doubled. And now you see there is absolutely nothing cheaper about solar or wind. And they keep saying driving an EV is cheaper. I really wish we'd hand them a crayon for Christmas.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was going to point that out specifically in this second article titled G7 Energy Environmentals Haggle Over Climate Strategy. I mean, there's a bunch of gobbledygook, but exactly what you said in there. Senator Granholm came out and said, where's the actual quote here? Where is it here? I can't find it in here, but basically you're exactly right. It's Granholm's like, yeah, we all know it's cheaper to have an EV car than a gasoline car. And I'm like, what?
No.
Only when you're in power, only when you guys take power. When Trump was in charge, oil was $1.50. I mean, for better or worse, it's the deep, dark secret. Well, people in oil and gas should love Democratic leadership because they restrict oil and gas production by regulatories. Prices go up. What does Trump do? Turn on the taps? What do prices go? Go into the tank. I mean, if you graph Republican president, Democratic, or like presidents and their affiliation, and then overlay crude oil prices, it's insane. I've seen it done before, and there's a strong correlation between Democratic leadership and high oil and gas prices. It's hilarious.
Well, the Biden administration wants the higher oil prices to drive everybody to renewable energy.
Good point. That's a good point. That's a solid point.
And let's go to the next one. U.S. ready to lend Poland $4 billion for nuclear energy plant. I like that, the fact that it's a loan or maybe even a lend. We may stand some chance of getting the money back. France,
you're very optimistic.
Nah, France still owes us a lot of money from World War II, and I doubt we ever see a dime. Project to develop small nuclear reactors in Poland is moving forward. Polish energy company Orlen and 2 government financial institutions signing an agreement Monday. I find this absolutely refreshing. We absolutely have to sell our technology and our leadership in nuclear capabilities to countries to help get to carbon net zero, to help stop the bricks and roads from China and the influence. We've taken such a geopolitical black eye that we really need to do something right. And I do like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the first time you're going to see Stu pump that we're shipping money overseas. So we better clip this, guys, and make sure that we save this.
Yeah, it'll be saved, but let's put a caveat on there, just like the G7's putting a caveat on here. I'm going to put a caveat and say, I'm not expecting the money back, but at least it's quote unquote a loan. I think that you will see less graft around Poland than you will Ukraine. There is
absolutely, and the fact that it's nuclear, I'm much more for. I just, if it was wind farms or solar, I'd be a lot more skeptical.
You bet. Anyway,
what's
great
next?
job. Let's go to Russia losing on the battlefield. But Russia's losing on the battlefield in energy markets while the U.S. LNG producers are winning. Let's see. Meanwhile, Europe uses 19% less gas by decreasing demand and using energy efficient technologies and telling everybody to take shorter showers, while also increasing its use of green energy. This goes along with the Germans cutting out their last nukes Saturday. And so the Germans shut down their last nukes on Saturday. They're now talking about how they're going to replace the natural gas. This paragraph I find very interesting, and we need to read it. Natural gas prices have moderated since the height of the war. In the United States, they're slightly more than $2 per million BTUs, down from $6. In Europe, they're about $14, down from $40. A number still high enough to encourage to go green. The United States has 7 LNG export terminals that could benefit Asia. All right. Here's a number. That number of they're down to about 14. That means the U.S. LNG companies, the Cheniers and all of those are phenomenally well poised. And they're going to be in a bidding war on the demand that's needed in Asia. So it's actually really cool. But their crayon in this article, Michael, I got to really sharpen that crayon because they're saying that it's even at the $14 LNG or natural gas market price, it's cheaper to go to renewables.
That big red flag. I don't buy that.
I don't buy that. No, I'm sitting here kind of going, look, Germany just shut down. If it was like California, California's got 10% of the Diablo that we talked about yesterday that they're trying to shut down. So let's say they just shut down 10% of their power. They're not going to be able to make it up. So guess who's going to get to pay for it?
The consumer.
Yeah,
as
the consumers.
Always.
Yeah, get it in the drive-through. Let's go to the next one here. China. This rolls right into that same story. Kazakhstan really sets it up for this. Michael, 6 months ago, do you remember when we were talking about when maybe even 8 months ago, sanctions were hitting Russia. And there was a pipeline company. China seeks to expand sources of stable gas supplies. The pipeline company was out of Kazakhstan. And this was the company that Russia had employed in order to get around sanctions to build this pipeline to China. So this is going to be Russian gas going through Kazakhstan and off to China. I just love it. I'm more power to them. I hope China does this. It might mean that they actually build one less coal power plant. Just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, China is going to play the long game. They understand that natural gas is going to be around here for a while. I'm not surprised they're supporting this. We already know that they're, we knew 20 years ago they were shoring up lithium and cobalt mines in India or in the Congo. It's not out of the question that they go and shore up a bunch of new international gas pipelines to secure their energy future, because they've seen what the world did when Russia invaded Ukraine and are using that as a playbook for what's going to happen when they invade Taiwan. I said it, when.
Oh, yeah. I think it's going to be sooner than later. No,
Am I just going to one day walk outside and see the nuke fly and just...
Oh, I don't know about that, but Warren Buffett just sold a bunch of his Taiwan stocks, his chip stocks. And I saw somebody on Twitter say today, well, we're about 2 weeks away from the invasion. I'm like, if Warren Buffett
from the invasion, I hope you're wrong.
I hope I am. It was a guy, it was some random dude on Twitter. Okay. Let's go to the next one.
Worse than Substack.
Oh yeah, it's Twitter, Substack. Hey, it's all the same. Coal inventory imports to avert crisis in Mahogany. When you sit back and think, India and China and all of these countries are pumping coal as much as they possibly can. The Mahogany company moves to gain importance in view of the Union Power Ministry's alert of possible decline in coal supply from 222 million tons to 201 million tons during the peak summer months. And what they're also talking about is the trains that are in here, Michael. Everybody goes around the country on trains. And they're not able to move the coal around because you've seen all the pictures with people in India, everybody hanging on the trains. Well, you can't sit on a coal train, everybody's, so they're limited on when they can. So instead of 2.2 million tons of coal, they're going to 2.8 million tons of coal. And it's just like China. Everybody's going back to coal because the renewable crayon does not work. Anyway.
India is truly making coal great again. I loved this stat in the bottom of the article. Of their current 8,000 megawatt per day output, 65 to 7,000 of that comes from 7 thermal power stations. That's code for coal, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, it is.
Woo-hoo-hoo!
Our plan will you need to finish the last quote. Our plan will ensure there's no shortage of coal in the state during peak summer months.
Long coal, baby. Long coal.
King Coal. Long live King Coal. It's back to you now.
Yeah, markets actually saw a little bit of a positive uptick. S&P was up about 0.3 percentage point. NASDAQ trades fairly similar to the open, about 0.1 percentage point. Oil falls 80.86 from the open, which was around 80, or which was around 82.50, mainly off a stronger dollar. Dollar index rose about 0.5 percentage point. Natural gas seeing a little bit of influence from a little bit of a colder weather spell that hopefully should be enacted to come in later this week. We're seeing spot prices $2.28. Otherwise, not much movement. It's a fairly quiet day all around. Nothing new on the oil and gas rumor mill front other than the normals happening. Frac crews I will tell you this, frac crews for natural gas are getting so cheap to the point where we might start seeing an uptick of some interesting activity going around. So keep an eye out for that. I don't really have anything, Stu. Will we let these guys get out of here?
I think so.
We appreciate you guys sticking around with us. For Stuart Turley, I'm Michael Tanner. We'll see you tomorrow.